Welcome to St. Jamestown TV. I'm Isaiah. St. Jamestown residents gather for Safety Summit and Community Social. Today, we bring you coverage from the St. Jamestown Safety Summit and Community Social, held at the Wellesley Community Centre. Residents, tenant leaders, service providers, and elected officials gathered for a community-led conversation on safety, well-being, and quality of life in one of Toronto's most densely populated neighbourhoods. Chaired by St. Jamestown residents, Council Chair Randy Alexander, the summit reflected growing pressures facing high-rise communities. Speakers said safety goes beyond enforcement, focusing on prevention, crisis response, and long-term investment. MPP Kristen Wong-Tam and Councillor Chris Moyes highlighted issues like the opioid crisis, youth unemployment, and fire risks in aging buildings, calling for sustained public investment and strong resident leadership. The event also featured a multicultural food fair by local chefs, underscoring the role of connection and culture in building safer communities.
So I think this is an amazing event. Kudos to the organizers.
For St. Jamestown, this gathering mattered because it put residents at the center of the conversation, strengthening trust, coordination, and the local leadership needed to build lasting community safety. Here's the full coverage from Regent Park TV.
An event like this is so important where we bring the community together, especially in St. Jamestown, one of the most densest populated, most diverse communities right across the country. This is also a community of exclusive high-rise living. Many of these buildings are aging, and some of our tenants are feeling the failing infrastructure. And public safety is one of the most important things that this community is facing, and that includes compounded with the cost of living, the housing crisis. It feels like everything is feeling tougher, and it shouldn't be that way. So being here as an elected official, listening and talking to my community, learning what they want to see happen with respect to solutions is critical for me, and I wouldn't be wanting to be anywhere else but here today. The question is oftentimes asked of me is, how does an opposition MPP support the community when the government doesn't look like they're listening, or in this case, they don't understand what high-rise, dense urban communities do and what they need to be successful. So to make my advocacy more effective, I need the community voices to come with me to Queen's Park. I need them to reach out to my office and to bring forward their stories, so therefore I can amplify their voice and call for legislative change and investments in our community the way our community actually deserves. And I won't be able to do that on my own. It has to be done with the support of the community, which is why I show up to these community events, because it's important and it's also expected, but also I want to make sure that there's a action at the end of these conversations, because if we just get together and talk without taking action afterwards, then we're going to get the status quo. And I know that this community deserves so much more than the status quo. It's the status quo that's failed them. And so the solutions are at Queen's Park. Doug Ford has got to listen to St. Jamestown, and I'll do everything in my power to make sure that he understands that our community is worthy of investments, but also that the legislation should follow to ensure their safety.
My name is Nikki Ward. I'm politically involved locally, a community member, and I'm here today at the Safety Summit and Social because, as others have already said, we have a safety crisis here in our area, Toronto Centre, and specifically in St. Jamestown. Community members have spoken eloquently about what community needs are. Better security services. There are issues around fire safety which haven't been addressed yet, and those things crossed both municipal and provincial boundaries. So municipally, Toronto Community Housing Corporation is the largest landlord in Toronto, and has a responsibility to make sure it's safe for the tenants. And since Toronto Community Housing Corporation is closely allied with the City of Toronto, the municipal government has a lot to say about this. Similarly with fire services, whether it's batteries, hoarding, or other safety issues, we need to make our buildings safe for everybody. I live locally. I'm a member of the LGBT community. I'm older than I look, so I have issues around elder care. The bottom line is that it's not as safe as it once was. And the solution to that is a deeper engagement by the City of Toronto, a more intelligent approach by Toronto Police Services, who after all do report to the municipality, and again working with Toronto Community Housing Corporation to deal with the area as a whole. You know, I was at an event the other day talking about one of the privately held buildings in St. Jamestown, and their solution was to build a fence around their portion of the property. Well, that just creates a series of gated ghettos, frankly. That's not the way to solve it. We need a systems-wide solution, and I'm really, really so supportive of the work that the community has done to coordinate not just with their own building but with others and get meaningful dialogue going with both the City of Toronto and the province, which has a role to play in there. So I think this is an amazing event, and kudos to the organisers. Really, really honoured to participate even on the periphery of this.
We've come together today to spend time with each other, to be with and have fellowship with our friends and neighbours, and to celebrate our St. Jamestown diversity with a multicultural luncheon prepared by 6 amazing local chefs. And we're here today to talk about community safety and the quality of life in our beloved St. Jamestown neighborhood. Safety will always be a concern for most neighborhoods, including here in St. Jamestown. We have a very unique and diverse lived sets of experiences here. We also have a lot of ideas and innovations to address and decrease violence in our community to improve the safety and well-being of our neighborhood. In our city and in our communities, violence and hate crimes have increased post-pandemic, including anti-Semitic and anti-Muslim hate crimes. Anti-Black hate crimes have doubled in recent years, and anti-Asian crimes have tripled. 2S LGBTQ+ hate crimes have increased as well. And if you're a trans or a queer person of color, hate crimes have increased even more so. If you're both trans and a queer person of color, our racialized beloved trans community members are facing a disproportionately high burden of harassment, marginalization, violence, and hate crimes. These aren't just abstract provincial and national trends. These are realities that our St. Jamestown residents live and experience in our high-rise urban community. I live at 200 Wellesley, along with dozens of other residents here today. Our building is the largest Toronto housing building in the city, and our St. Jamestown community is the largest subsidized housing population in Canada, in the most densely populated city block in Canada. Our 200 Wellesley Tenants Association meets regularly with city officials and with our neighborhood community officers to discuss community trends and ongoing safety concerns. In 2025, assaults doubled in our building. 2 months ago, 2 critical incidents occurred within days of each other on our 200 Wellesley property. September 30th, a shooting in our community green space next to our playground, in our family barbecue area, and in the same week, a stabbing in our lobby. The shooting victim and the stabbing victim are both in recovery, and the perpetrators have been arrested. Fortunately, there were no fatalities in these incidents. However, these incidents both involved increasing trends of safety concern in our high-rise communities, criminal trespassing, and the lithium battery illegal economy. These recent incidents, along with other usual suspects like the ongoing opioid crisis and understaffed, under-resourced, underpaid frontline service workers, have brought our community together today. With the support of our City of Toronto's Violence Intervention and Support Unit, we've gathered here today in gratitude, in perseverance, in solidarity, and in community. A few other fine folks are going to say a few words now. Then we're going to enjoy a wonderful lunch, and then anyone who's interested after lunch, we're going to stay here and have a community conversation about how we would like to address and improve community safety in our buildings and in our neighborhood. Today, we're going to begin to build a sustainable St. Jamestown community safety network. And in 2026, with the support of the Violence Intervention and Support Unit, we're going to continue this conversation and this work for the betterment of our neighborhood. Our first guest speaker today has dedicated decades of their lives to improving the safety and wellness of our St. Jamestown community, our city, and our province. MPP Kristen Wong-Tam was previously our city ward for 12 years and in 2025 was re-elected as our MPP. I think that's 5 campaign wins in 15 years. Not bad. Kristen is a champion of social justice, of the environment, of affordable housing, of 2S LGBTQ+ rights, of inclusion, diversity, and equality. 3 years ago, I reached out to Kristen for support with a safety and security issue in our building. With the help of Kristen and her team, they brought then Toronto Housing CEO to the table with our tenant leaders, and the city mandated that Toronto Housing install over 200 new security cameras in our building's lobbies, hallways, every stairwell, and around the exterior of the building. By spring 2024, this new camera system was live. This was a big win for our tenant association and for our residents, and we couldn't have done it without leaders like Kristen. We don't often get opportunities to introduce our champions in person, and I'm grateful every time I have the pleasure to introduce your MPP, Kristen Wong-Tam.
That was so kind, honestly. Thank you. You know, it's always great to be out here in the community, and I want to say thank you to Randy for that.
Thank you very much. This is Arabic culture. Take some innocence.
Okay.
This is the starter of anyone. He's supposed to have some innocence, and then today is some cultural, so kind of culture. You like it?
I love it. Thank you, Auntie Amal.
Thank you, Auntie.
Thank you. Thank you, Auntie Amal, and thank you, Randy, and thank you to all of you. Randy, that was a very gracious, overly gracious introduction. But really, I'm here as a public servant. I'm here as, you know, obviously as the MPP elected to represent the area, but I also walk these streets all the time. I'm a parent with a child who goes to Church Street Public School, these neighborhoods, in and out of the streets. This is what I do. And what I am really tasked with, and what keeps me up at night most of the times, is, you know, what we perceive as safety. MPP, in case you don't know, it means Member of Provincial Parliament. So I work at Queen's Park with the provincial government, trying to change the laws, enforce the laws that we have in Ontario. And one of the things that we are responsible for is public safety, access to housing, access to healthcare, education. But what I wanted to impart is that, you know, the challenges that Randy has stated, and many of the St. Jamestown residents through our many conversations over the year, is that things are not getting better despite investments from the city or investment from TCHC. And what we know is that the social safety net in Ontario seems to be frayed and fractured, which is why we're seeing more mental health, more addictions, more chronic homelessness, and all of us is feeling the weight of that with respect to how we move through our neighborhoods. So we can put up more security cameras, we can lock every single door, but that's not going to keep us safer if we continue to see poverty, high rates of unemployment, and the social determinants of safety are not invested in. And that's the social safety net, right? And so, you know, we can change the laws to, you know, remove the guns, which they should be removed. There's no reason why anyone in Ontario, especially in urban cities, should have access to a handgun. If you are someone who is not a police officer, not a first responder, who has access to a handgun in our urban core, I really question why you even have it as a, even if it is licensed. Because our biggest threat really is generally raccoons. I think we can all agree to that. So I want to remove every single handgun and every single illegal gun that we have in Ontario off our urban streets. That's job and priority number one. But we can't do that. We cannot do that if we continue to see people motivated to pick up those firearms. So stricter gun control, stricter gun enforcement is critical. But we're also seeing, especially in our high-rise communities here, is that kids don't have the opportunities that they need, which means that seniors and those who are becoming seniors, like myself, are also feeling a little bit on the tension side, right? And so we know that unemployment for youth is at an all-time record high, 23% in Ontario. And if those kids don't have a pathway, and I say kids, but if those young adults don't have a pathway to a career, then they're going to be hustling on the street, and they're going to be preyed upon, and they're going to be recruited into gangs, because that's how they see themselves in terms of building some political power, right? Some of their own power. And we don't want that. We want them to have access to education and access to employment, which right now they don't have. Which is why we need to invest in recreation programs and on-skill programs so they can get a pathway to a career that gives them good opportunity choices other than just picking up a gun or trying to act tough. The other thing that we see a lot of these days, and something that I've cared very deeply about, is the number of fires that we've seen in St. Jamestown. I have identified with the fire chief of Toronto, Jim Jessup. We have quick conversations over text messages, and then we sit down for coffee, and I'm constantly telling him that we need to do more to address the lithium-ion battery crisis that we have. Because I have heard about, and I've seen the reports, that you may have a neighbor who has 2 or 3 bicycles, those e-bikes or e-scooters, plugged into the walls, and they're using aftermarket lithium-ion batteries that have not been tested or proven to be safe for use here. And so when we do have a fire started by an e-battery, and this is critical because we've seen massive displacements over winter, it can destroy homes. 1 minute you are housed, the next minute your entire building is evacuated, and you know it takes a long time to get you back in. And if it happens during the winter, which is when we see these fires happen, because of the change of weather, we anticipate more is coming this winter. So these are big threats, huge threats. But I don't want you to feel hopeless in all that, because I know that the conversations that I've had with the Solicitor General in Queen's Park is that we have to do more to take those illegal aftermarket lithium batteries off of the market, so we are using only safe products. And we have to make sure that all our building owners, from TCHC to private landlords, are going to be tasked with updating the building so that they can meet the load, the energy requirement that they now have to provide, right? So these are things that are in flux, but these are things that have to be worked on, and we can't find solutions a year or 2 years down the line. Solutions to removing the guns off our streets have got to be now. Solutions to making sure that young people have pathways to education and job opportunities have to be now, as well as making sure that we control the aftermarket for ion batteries, lithium-ion batteries. We can't wait 2 years. We've already seen so many fires in St. Jamestown, and in St. Jamestown in particular. So when you take a look at the suite of all of that, we've got some big issues to contend with. But I am committed to working with Randy, the St. Jamestown Residents Council, and all of you to make sure we speed those solutions up. And that includes bail reform, keeping dangerous, repeat, serious offenders off our streets, making sure that the justice system, the court system moves quickly, so you don't have people who are sitting and waiting 2 years for a trial so they can get through the system as quickly as possible. So there's many things that need to be addressed. My commitment to you is that I will work with you to make sure all of that happens as soon as possible, because you're here putting your time and energy. You know that safety is one of the most important issues in our community, along with the cost of living and housing crisis. And so if you're here, then I have to be here. And if you want to extend this conversation into Queen's Park so you can meet the Premier and tell him yourself, I want to throw open the doors of Queen's Park to you. Because I don't think our government fully understands what it means to live in high-rise communities that are aging buildings with low income and very, very difficult social conditions. They don't understand what we and you are living through. And the only way they're going to understand is if you come with me to Queen's Park. So an invitation is standing to you at any given time, any given day. I want you to come with me to Queen's Park. And we can arrange a lobby day to make that happen because, and I will say this, because I don't think they're gripped with the sense of urgency that we are, that you are. So thank you very much to each and every single one of you for your ongoing contributions. Thank you for giving me a few minutes to address you today and just to share my thoughts. I wish you and your family all the very best for the Christmas, upcoming Hanukkah celebration. And to all the chefs, thank you for your immense contribution, much more important than mine today. And thank you again to the Residents' Council and to the entire city team for being here. Thank you for all that you do, because without your support, this would not have happened today. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. I'm now going to introduce St. Jamestown Council member, St. Jamestown Residents Council member, Noreen McLean.
We're all there.
Oh, thank you, Kristen. Can you all hear me?
Yep.
I project well. My name's Noreen, and I live at 200 Wellesley, and paramedics, firefighters, Toronto police are daily visitors at our building. That's not an exaggeration. We actually should put out a cot for them. We see emergency services in our building every day, as do many of our neighboring buildings. Our Toronto housing building has the distinction of being in the top 10 buildings for fire department calls, and from what I understand, #1 in false alarms. We are living through an opioid crisis, and we have major criminal trespassing issues that we witness every day. In 2016, Toronto Housing cut citywide security staff in half, from approximately 200 to 100 officers due to lack of funding. Since then, Toronto housing communities have experienced additional safety and security funding cuts. 2 years ago, Toronto Housing made more security funding cuts, including to our much needed 200 Wellesley security guards. When we first heard about the cuts in early August 2022, our tenants associations immediately activated and organized. We had emergency tenant meetings. We requested emergency tenant community consultation with Toronto Housing Management. That really went far. We posted tenant updates at all of our local Toronto housing properties, on our tenants' social media platforms, and across our professional and personal networks. You probably all have seen them. We started a tenant-led letter writing campaign. We started a tenant-led petition signing campaign asking for security cuts to be rescinded. We prepared to rally. We won. As residents and as tenant associations, we mobilized and we fought for those security cuts. So it is possible. Our next speaker was instrumental in reversing those last rounds of security cuts in our Toronto housing home. At the time, we reached out to our then newly elected City Councillor, Chris Moyse. We met with his team and amplified our community voices with persistence, and we're nothing if not persistent, and perseverance. the security cuts were reversed, much to the chagrin of TCHC, I assume. In fact, our number of security guards at 200 Wellesley were increased to 4 guards, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is a testament to the power of organized community combined with determined community leadership. We can accomplish good things together. We are very grateful for our city councilor's support then, and we count on his future support. Please welcome your city councilor, Chris Moyse.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I spent so much time in this building. I should just bring a cot in as well. It's great to be here. Last night I was at the Regent Park Safety Network, and it was well attended. And the same concerns you have here, they have there as well and across the ward. But one of the things that's really important, I like to say, is that we need Toronto Police, of course, to help us keep our streets and our community safe. But it's not only about Toronto Police, it's about you, community. It's about collaboration. It's coming together, creating spaces for all of us, making sure that our voices are heard always. In my role as a city councilor, I work very closely, of course, with the police chief, the superintendent, the medical officer of health, I chair Toronto Public Health, and I also meet with the CEO of Toronto Community Housing on a regular basis as well, to share your concerns and the issues that are important to you. And it's ongoing. Kristen mentioned, we have an opioid crisis, we have a mental health crisis, we have an underhouse crisis in the city, and it's been all hands on deck trying to deal with these issues. One of the things that was renewed just recently was the Downtown East Action Plan, and it's a $5 million program over 5 years to actually help us clean the streets of Toronto Centre. For example, picking up needles, used needles, garbage. We've actually hired lane cleaners, people on the streets to clean the streets every day. So hopefully you see an improvement in and around this community as well. And so that's really important to me. I think cleanliness of our community is really, really important. One of the things that is also of concern to me is the increase of lithium batteries, as Kristen mentioned, in TCHC. We've had about maybe, 5 fires in the last 6 months here. And many people have been displaced as a result of that. And so at Board of Health, I passed a motion asking the province and the federal government to actually change the laws around lithium batteries. I know TCHC have actually changed their rules as well, in that you're not allowed to bring e-bikes onto the floors. I know they've created spaces down below to park it below. But some people still bring the bikes upstairs and on the balcony, which is a problem. And it's important that when you see someone doing that, you actually report it. I know that Medallion, for example, have actually changed the rules in their buildings as well, in that you're not allowed to bring these e-bikes up onto the floors. They actually created spaces for them down below. And I was told that if a tenant brings a e-bike upstairs, they may be evicted. So it's a really serious issue. The fire chief says to me as well that when there is a fire with a lithium battery, the firefighters actually have to discard or throw out all their uniform, all the gear, because of the toxins of the uniform. So again, just imagine what that toxin does to your lungs, right? So these are some of the issues that are really, really important that I'm actually, it's on my radar and I'm championing on a daily basis. It's also important to note that we have a great neighborhood officer program here as well. The neighborhood officer program actually started here in Toronto Centre in Regent Park, and now it's across 17 neighborhoods across the city. And when I work with Superintendent Musa is new to 51 Division, I said to him, whatever resources that you need, please let me know, because I want to make sure that we have the full complement here in Toronto Centre. I want to see more officers on bikes roaming our neighborhoods. And I live not too far from here, so I actually see the officers on a regular basis, and I hope you see them too. They also have cell phones. They issue their numbers to people. So again, if you have any issues, please reach out to them directly. I know that, again, going back to the addictions issues, as I mentioned, I'm chair of public health. And since the closures of supervised consumption sites, we have seen more people using on our street corners. And we have dispatched more streets to home folks. We also now have an encampment team across the city, which I help champion. We have 31 staff members who actually go out preemptively to help house people in parks and in alleyways. I know that we've changed the rules around that recently at the last two city councils, but I have said to Gortana, who's the general manager of Toronto Shelter Support Services, that we need to actually increase the encampment team to even maybe double it. I also sit in the budget committee of the city, so I'm positioned to actually advocate quite loudly to make sure that that team gets the supports that they need. So there's a lot of moving parts in the city. As you mentioned, there's always fire services here, there's police here, there's again, different emergency services here. But these are all city assets, right? Supporting you when you need it. And it's my job as a city council to make sure that you have all the resources that you need on the ground. And I'm so happy working with Randy and the entire team here at St. Jamestown. We are stronger together. And I'm so proud to be your city councilor. And if you need anything from our office, Francesca, where's Francesca, is my staff rep for St. Jamestown. And if you need anything from my office, please reach out to us directly. We are on the ground each and every day working hard to support you. And have a wonderful holiday season, and all the best for the new year. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. After lunch, we'll have an opportunity to talk and do Q&A and have questions and in-depth conversations. We want to leave time for in-depth, meaningful, mindful conversations. Our final speaker before lunch is the community development officer with the City of Toronto's Violence Intervention and Support Unit, Rime Johannes. Rime is going to share a bit with you about their program and how they're going to support our new St. Jamestown Community Safety Network development in the new year. Rime, please join us. And Chance, too. By the way, Chance is one of the best last names ever. Grand Mason. Chance Grand Mason. That is a rich last name.
Thank you guys for having us. I won't lie, Randy, it is a little difficult when you have to go after Chris Moyes and people on tech.
You're welcome.
So Chance and I represent the Violence Intervention and Support Unit with the City of Toronto. And we work citywide, responding and supporting community after critical incidents. These critical incidents include shooting, stabbing, shots fired, big major raids, that sort of stuff. And our program falls under 3 pillars. We have crisis intervention, which I just described. I think it's important to note that we are not 911 or emergency services.
Or 211.
Our program activates 12 hours after the incident. And what we do with the intervention is just try to support community, connect folks to resources that they need, and just measure impact and how we can support community members after something critical happens in their community. The next piece is violence prevention. So it's connecting with folks who are kind of already doing the work, seeing how we can partner and how we can continue to support them with the violence prevention work to avoid or to help prevent things from happening or continuing. And then lastly, there's crisis preparation, which includes the safety networks that Randy was speaking about earlier. I think the goal is to kind of revitalize that in St. Jamestown, especially in the new year, and just try to support folks with like capacity building, trainings, and the opportunity to meet like this, because it sounds like that's the sentiment or the feeling in the community is we want to have more opportunities to meet. We want to have more opportunities to talk about our community. And so the safety network is going to be something that where folks can do that. I know I gave a very high level overview of our program, but if you do have any like specific questions, Chance and I will be at the table. And we also have our one pager and stuff if anyone needs more information. Randy, am I good?
You are. You're great. You're great. Thank you, Ramay. Thank you. We couldn't be doing what we're doing without their team. They are very collaborative, very receptive, and we're not letting them go anywhere. They're going to be part of our lives for a while. So, I'm going to introduce to you our chefs. Our lunch today has been prepared by 6 very inspiring international, local community chefs who represent the best of our neighborhoods. Naseema Shakar is our Bangladeshi chef today. Naseema has lived in Canada for 27 years and has lived in St. Jamestown for 19 years since 2006. She expresses her love for culture and community through her traditional Bangladeshi food. Her poised and amiable spirit amidst positivity, humility, and compassion. She often prepares her home cuisine and distributes it hot and fresh to our neighbors. She's very active in her St. Jamestown neighborhood and her Bangladeshi community across the city. Rolanda, who we call Uli, recently retired in 2024 from her full-time career with Toronto Chelsea's Hotel. Now her full-time career is enjoying life of community, socializing, health, fitness, including swimming and culinary arts. She continues to be very active in her St. Jamestown neighborhood, participating in, promoting, and supporting several local seniors programs at Wellesley Community Centre, Progress Place, Hospice Toronto, St. Jamestown Community Corner, and Sunshine Centre for Seniors. Our Syrian chef today is Maha Brahman. Maha was born in Syria. In her home country, she was a math teacher. She came to Canada 8 years ago in 2017 and now lives in St. Jamestown, where she's been an active volunteer supporting food security programs, celebrating diversity, and promoting community health, wellness, and safety. She has a passion for cooking, where she finds inspiration and joy, and she hopes to build a name for herself in the culinary world. She especially enjoys the challenges of fusing Eastern and Western culinary traditions. Alem is our Ethiopian chef. She was born in Ethiopia and now lives in St. Jamestown. In 2021, she began volunteering with Auntie Amal's Community Corner, supporting local families, youth, seniors, and newcomers in St. Jamestown and in the city of Toronto. She likes to share Ethiopian culture, traditions, and cuisines with her St. Jamestown community. Auntie Amal they broke the mold when they made Auntie Amal. In 2013, in the pursuit of the Canadian dream, Amal arrived as a refugee to St. Jamestown and began volunteering at our local community centre and went on to secure several community-based leadership roles. In 2015, she founded her own not-for-profit organization, Auntie Amal's Community Centre, which serves our Greater Toronto area and the St. Jamestown neighborhood and families with food security programs, community kitchens, newcomer supports, back-to-school programs, youth and seniors programs, dance and arts, and that is just the short list. Last but not least is our Ecuadorian Latin chef, Enos Garcia. Enos is a long-standing community advocate and small business owner with over 30 years of deep-rooted connection to Moss Park and the Regent Park neighborhoods. Originally from Ecuador, Regent brings a rich cultural perspective and a passion for grassroots community work, dedicating her time to initiatives that support local families, youth, small businesses, safety, and community. Amongst her many roles, Enos has been a tenant-elected Toronto Housing rep for over 20 years, is currently an active Toronto Housing Tenant Advisory Committee member, and simultaneously an entrepreneur and owner of Garcia Eats. I firmly believe that successful community safety networks and initiatives are successful with the leadership of our mothers, our aunties, and our grandmothers. And on that note, let's enjoy their food.
Hello everyone, we are Auntie Amal Community Centre. We run food bank in the area, and today we have very beautiful event. It's our cultural yearly event. It's about cooking food from every culture, and today I'm one of the chief, and our community members, they are cooking as well. So I will introduce first for you Maha. Today, what did you cook, Maha?
Yalanji and tabbouleh.
Yes.
Today I didn't cook, but I did take part in the event coordination and help get everything together and serve people.
Yeah. And this is Abid. He did Abdul.
I did a culture cafe on the food.
I didn't cook anything, but I just helped in serving. Thank you.
I did not cook anything, but I just help out with tables and chairs and everything. Yeah.
I also didn't cook, but I helped everyone with participating.
Also, I didn't cook, but I helped everyone giving out the food and help the community.
Yeah, our food was very tasty. Come to us in 200 Wellesley, Auntie Amal Community Centre, and you will eat the best food. Yes.
Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also follow us on social media, and for more information, check out our website.